Hey everybody, welcome back to Clubhouse Talk. I am Sean Ferguson. Today's video I am doing it a day later than I wanted to, but I want to get into a little bit of best and worst of the week that was in Major League Baseball. A few things that caught my eye watching some baseball over the weekend, just the weekend alone. I'm a big AL East guy, as you guys might know, big Orioles fan, and watching the Orioles Guardians, Yankees Blue Jays, I've seen a couple of things that popped out to me that wasn't a big fan of, which I mean, it's been happening all year, but just watching those two games alone over the weekend alone kind of caught my eye and I wanted to touch on. And best of the week as well, a couple of players I want to recognize, both of them actually winning the players of the week in their respective leagues. So I want to touch on that and a little bit about what's going on with the Orioles right now with some of their rookies. But I want to start with, let's go worst of the week, and really worst of the weekend. Like I said, I noticed happening in a couple of the AL East games. I'll start with the Orioles, of course, because why not? The umpiring was umping wasn't the greatest from behind the plate. Corey Blazer alone in Game 4, as you see some of these pitches that were called strikes, and some of them in pivotal moments, which kind of stood out to me the most. Ryan O'Hearn taking one, a strikeout that was not a strikeout with the bases loaded. That was a big call, and he did it a few times. And not just on the Orioles side. The Guardians got some bad calls too. And that, I mean, with how late we are getting into the season, I know, I get it. It's judgment call. It's tough being in their shoes, but man, these are some rough calls. And then you look at the Yankees. You had ejections because of it. It was so bad. And it was Laz Diaz in the second of the three games, I believe, on Saturday. And then he had Tripp Gibson. So it wasn't just one guy. It was Tripp Gibson as well in Game 3 of that Yankees-Blue Jays series. These calls are atrocious. Again, it's a tough job to do. I understand that. But wow, especially in big moments with where we're getting to down in the season, it's harder to see these calls, especially with these teams like the Yankees, Orioles, and Guardians that are top tier teams that are fighting for divisions, fighting for playoff spots of, big time importance. It's tough to see these calls go this way. So I would say the umping for sure was my worst of the weekend. Best of the weekend, I got to give it to two guys. You got, sticking to AL East, I'll go Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He wins the American League Player of the Week. What a week he had. 3 home runs, 8 RBIs, 7 doubles, was batting .536 over the week. He had a great series against the Yankees. It was good not to see him be moved as a fan of the American League East, which is funny to say at the same time because the Orioles still have to play him. They're actually playing them tonight. But he's such a great player, and get to see him play as much as he does with him being in the East is still great to see. So it'd have been okay to see him go to a contender and really see him play meaningful baseball this part of the year. But wow, what a player he's turning into. What a season he's having. So good for him. He's definitely the heart and soul of that Blue Jays team. And going to the National League side, the National League Player of the Week, Blake Snell. I mean, how do you not give it to him? A lot of talk about, he was traded to the Giants in the offseason. One of the best pitchers in the league. Had an awful season to start. Gets hurt. Guy that's never even pitched into the 8th inning. All this talk, all this chatter, and he throws his first career complete game that just so happened to be his first career no-hitter. So awesome to see from Blake Snell. He's starting to turn around. And again, another guy that had a great chance of being traded at the deadline by their team. They keep him. The Giants are finally over 500 at this part of the season now after a win last night. So good thing they kept Blake Snell, because just imagine all the conversations in a negative light that would have happened if they would have traded him when they're starting to get better. So Giants over 500, and Blake Snell, a big reason of that, pitching his first career complete game that just so happens to be his first career no-hitter. Great news coming from the Giants side, and good for Blake Snell. I'm happy to see it. I would have loved to see him become an Oriole at the trade deadline, but it's okay. I'm not going to cry about it. It's okay. Good for you, Blake Snell. And one other thing I wanted to touch on in this video, I wanted to touch on what's kind of happening with the Orioles. I know everyone's talking about it, and not just the Orioles. It's happening in all sports, and it's this talk of these players that are highly touted players, big prospects, and then you're calling them busts out of the get-go. Jackson Holiday got a lot of this. Jackson Holiday got a lot of this year bust. He was two first. I believe it was two first 32 in his first stint as an Oriole. This kid is 20 years old. 20 years old. And all the weight in the world on him. Because he's the number one prospect in all of baseball. He's got to be great. He's got to be good. And then he comes up to the Orioles in his first stint and he goes 2 for 32 and he looks lousy. Okay, he's not a bust. Not a bust at all. He's 20 years old and there's a lot of baseball left to be played. So the Orioles did the right thing. They sent him back down to the majors. And I'm sorry, back down to the minors. He gets called back up to the majors. And I think it was the best thing for him. He's 7 of 19. He's got 2 home runs under his belt, including an amazing grand slam. That got a great pop out of me, and Orioles fans are happy to see it, as you can visibly see the monkey taken off of Jackson Holiday's back with that grand slam. But 7 of 19 with 2 homers in his return back to the majors. And it gave me a glimpse of what happened to Grayson Rodriguez, who was the best Orioles pitching prospect, a lot of hype behind him. He comes up, and he was awful. It looked like he was tipping a lot of his pitches. He was super uncomfortable. He was forcing things. He looked awful. Orioles send him down, bring him back up. He looked fantastic in his second stint with the Orioles, and this year he's a starter. Could be the ace of this team if it wasn't for Corbin Burns, who's one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's an absolutely solid number 2 for this team. He's tied for the Major League in wins with 13. He's 13-4, 3.87 ERA. Good for him. That's what's happening to Jackson Holiday. Just calm down. He's not a bust. Same thing with Coby Mayo. The kid is not a bust. He hasn't got a hit yet and his call up, and that's okay. He's only had a couple Major League starts under his belt. He might need time to adjust. He's young. Okay, this is a hard sport to play, especially when you have all the hype in the world around you. So just need to calm down a little bit. It's going to be okay. And I thought Brandon Hyde had something great to say about this, because one of the big reasons why Coby Mayo came up was because of the injury to Jordan Westburg. And you can put Mayo over there at third base to replace Westburg, but this kind of goes into that whole hype conversation. So listen to what Brandon Hyde had to say. I thought he touched on it perfectly.
Yeah, I'm not looking for him to replace Jordan Westburg. Jordan Westburg was an all-star and middle of the order and played 2 positions extremely well and got huge hits for us. I really just want Coby to be himself and try to just help and try to just take the best at bats he possibly can, catch the ball that's at him, and not try to do too much, but just try to contribute.
Well said. You're not trying to have Coby Mayo be Jordan Westburg. Jordan Westburg has had his time in the minors and his time in the majors to adjust to this game. He's an all-star. He's having a tremendous year. Coby Mayo's not there yet. He just got up into the majors. Just give him time. He will adjust. He might need to go back down to the minors like we've seen with Holiday and Rodriguez, like we already touched on. So just easy on the hype train. It's going to be okay. He just needs a little time to adjust. And luckily, the Orioles have time because they're one of the best teams of baseball, and they have one of the deepest farm systems in all of baseball, too. So I'm not worried at all as an O's fan, and I think everything is going to be okay. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And if you like this video, please like it. Please subscribe to the channel. I'm going to try to get out at least 2 videos a week. And again, this video came out 1 day later than I would like to. But again, if you like what you saw, please like it, please subscribe. And thank you all always for watching this episode of Clubhouse Talk. I'm Sean Ferguson, and I'll see you next time.